not support Donald Trump. It's about policy. It's not about personality.
He says he agrees with Trump on most policy, with Trump on how Trump views his role and his areas.
I don't buy that, Jake. I don't buy that. They're conservative in the sense that they want America to get involved in a ton of...
John Kelly lost a son in Afghanistan. Why are you saying that? I've never heard John Kelly say whether he supports Iraq or Afghanistan.
And I honor his son's sacrifice, and I honor his family's sacrifice. That doesn't mean...
What specifically are you talking about? What has he said that I brought it up because you're acting as if he is pro-war, and I've never heard him say whether or not he's on board.
Because I know John Kelly's worldview, and I know the people who have attacked Donald Trump the most vociferously on foreign policy. They'll say, well,
you're ascribing worldviews, I think, based on gut. There's no evidence.
Based on people that I've talked to in the Trump administration.
Sure, John Bolton.
What John Kelly wanted to do.
I don't even know what you're talking about. But let me ask you something about John Kelly specifically, because you said the other day...
Oh, I'm highly skeptical of that, Jake. You know the way that these attacks work. You know the way that these people are often vetted by a
So you made it up.
Something goes I'm telling
you. I think it's interesting that you think that a magazine writer lied to the American people into war.
Well, he encouraged it. He wrote stories that were dishonest.
He wrote a story about the gassing of the Kurds in I forget if it was the Atlantic or the New Yorker, but I'm actually referring to John Kelly talking to the New Yorker. Mark Milley, who was the Trump-appointed chairman of the Joint Chiefs of
Who
Staff.
disobeyed Trump's direct orders on troop redeployments in Syria.
And I'm talking about the guy that had your job.
A massive violation of his constitutional oath.
I'm talking about the guy that had your job, Master.
Single one.
Melissa Farragut.
Okay, Jake, are you going to listen to every Trump administration official? You know one reason why Kamala... No, this is an important point. Kamala Harris.
He did not fire Mike.
Kamala Harris.
He did not fire Mark Milley.
Kamala Harris.
He did not fire John.
He fired a lot of those people, Jake, and he did because they weren't doing their job. But this is the thing, Jake. We've now spent 5 minutes talking about people in Donald Trump's staff
who think he's not fit for office.
He fired.
Who think he's not fit for office.
Oh, they didn't think he was unfit for office until they had a falling out with him because he fired them. And we're not talking about the public policy.
Well, we're actually
talk about how Americans. Can we talk about the fact that Americans can't afford the cost of housing? Can we talk about the fact that a lot of people out there in Erie, Pennsylvania, they're the ones who suffer and die when people like Mark Esper and
We're talking about Donald Trump and what he said.
Yes.
And Donald Trump said.
And you'd much rather talk about what Donald Trump allegedly said than what Donald Trump did in office.
What he did in
office, Jake.
What he said publicly.
1.5%
in the military to go after the enemy within, which is the American people.
He did not say that, Jake. He said that he was going to send the military after the American people. Show me the quote where he said that.
He said the enemy within.
He said far left lunatics. He's talking about the people rioting
and shit.
He's talking about people rioting after the election. I think
the Pelosi's were rioting after the election.
He said in 2 separate phrases. He said about using on
this is what he said to Joe Rogan on Go After.
No, this is
enemy within a bigger problem than Kim Jong-un.
Second part.
That's the enemy within.
And did he say? People, here's the game.
The military to go after the enemy within.
Here's the game that you're playing. He said that. No. Can I answer the question?
We're the enemy within.
We're the enemy within. So every time he uses the exact same phrase.
I don't know. I don't throw around the term of enemy within to talk about using the military against going American people.
And you're asking his vice president, but you won't let me answer the question. I'm telling you
to go after Americans.
People who riot, who burn down our city.
This was what John Kelly was.
National Guard.
This was what John Kelly was alarmed by Americans.
That's what he said. Donald Trump never said Americans writ large.
Are they or are they not Americans? Now you're doing a very narrow definition of what he said, which is not what he said. That's not what he said. But let me ask you. The bigger point.
Say that, Jake. He did. He said that he wanted to use the U.S. military. Let me clarify.
Go after far left lunatics. Yes, and then he also added
rioting,
including, and
never said.
He added Schiff, and then he added the Pelosi.
He never.
And then he added people that don't want the country to succeed.
He said that Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi he used in a separate context in a separate conversation. And what you're doing is you're smashing two totally different conversations.
Fox asked him about this last week, and he didn't take issue with it. He said the biggest threat to this country.
The enemy within that he's going to use the military against Nancy Pelosi. Donald Trump offered Nancy Pelosi the National Guard on January the 6th.
So let's talk about things that he wants to do that are feeding into this concern.
He wants to violate the law. You should be able to do based on the
based on the fact that he's accused of that. I'm happy to. But Liz Cheney, he said, should.
No, of course it doesn't.
putting
course
this
it
change
doesn't.
before a military
First of
personnel?
all, I don't buy into the premise of what you're saying, Jake, because I just on things that I know that he said, on things that I know that he said, you're pretending that they were made at the exact same time. So I'm rejecting the premise of your question. I frankly don't believe what you're saying about Donald Trump.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, so we covered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No,
that was
what you just said is false.
You covered it in a way that gave preachers.
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue with whether or not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that you guys
say I'm specifically asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win, and then we're being told we're
going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of growth. Or one guy, one guy who's a disgruntled employee.
I told
where
you
five other people pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
I didn't bring up any of the things that he said. He said I didn't bring up.
I brought up John Kelly, and that I brought up John. So John Kelly makes accusations that are
again. You're talking about something I didn't bring up.
I think that maybe implicates his overall judgment.
So all those 10 people, including the four, it's not like these are conservative.
That's my.
These are not conservative Republicans. These aren't conservative Republicans who are concerned about Donald Trump. They're not. That's not right.
All of these people. Yes, he did. And when he found out, when he found out that he couldn't, they all turned on Donald Trump, and a lot of them got fired. And we're running, and we're trying to staff the.
Let me ask you.
They're pissed off about it.
Let me ask you, because if you are running to be vice president of the United States, and there is a 50-50 chance, maybe better, I don't know, that you're going to succeed. Are you running to be vice president of the United States, or are you running to be vice president of the red states? Because if you win, and there's a decent chance you will, you're going to be vice president of childless cat ladies. You're going to be vice president of legal Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. You're going to be their vice president too. Are you running to do that?
Jake, of course I'm running to be the vice president of all Americans. I'm running because I want people to be able to afford a good life in this country. You know how I grew up. You know that I grew up in a family where things were often tough. I want, whether you're in a blue state or a red state, whether you're going to vote for Trump or you're going to vote for Harris, I want you to be able to
people that didn't break the law of breaking the law when it comes to the election. And if you want to revisit that, I'm happy to.
Supports that. But the reason these guys go after him so vociferously, I don't think that it's about his personality.
And he said should be put before a war tribunal. None of that sounds fascist to you at all?
But what's not going to happen with the broken leadership in Washington, D.C. Let me give you a statistic, Jake.
Thank you so much, Senator. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Have a good time out there.
Yeah.